Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's very kind of you. I do want to welcome all of you because this is such an important issue, and particularly the mayor of one of actually the largest city in my state, Houston, Mayor Parker, glad that you could come. It's been more than 9 years since the tragedy of 9/11, 5 years since Hurricanes Katrina and Rita caused such devastation on the Gulf Coast. More recently, Hurricane Ike and its huge storm surge reminded us that in emergency situations, first responders and other public safety professionals need the best equipment available to ensure the preservation of life. Interoperable communications is one of those tools, and I noticed my colleague from Minnesota and the bridge collapse there was just a tragedy, I know, for you, where this issue also would be so relevant. Stories from responders that have resorted to handwritten notes passed across rubble piles because they are using devices incapable of communicating with other responders, or because communications networks are overwhelmed with traffic, which we experienced personally during 9/11 when the Capitol shut down because the Pentagon was hit, and you could not communicate unless you had a computer. And we all left our offices, so it was very difficult. So we know that there are issues that have to be addressed. Public safety should have the resources it needs, and I'm prepared to support a direct allocation of this particular spectrum to public safety rather than auctioning it for commercial use, Mr. Chairman. But I do believe there are several important questions that have to be answered in conjunction with this legislation. From a technical standpoint, I'd like to know if the spectrum were auctioned off to a commercial user rather than allocated to public safety directly. What would the challenges be in allowing public safety assured priority access to use the commercial network in an emergency? And would there be pluses because you do actually have the systems in place? The FCC has indicated that it believes a priority access arrangement can meet public safety needs while allowing the spectrum to be used for further innovation in the commercial wireless market that may not be possible without the private sector investment. I do think it would be useful for our members to know the advances in capability that the additional spectrum allocation would provide for our first responders. My understanding is that there are some critical applications a true broadband capability would provide, such as high-resolution image transmission that will allow field personnel to communicate directly with off-site medical personnel to enhance field treatment of injuries, sort of like our battleground capabilities that we now have for treating injuries and saving lives on the battlefield. So there are technical questions that I hope our witnesses will be able to help us sort through as we go forward on something that is this important and big and with consequences. The other thing that I would like to talk about is the funding and the funding sources. We need to make sure that we have the capability, if we're going to allocate this spectrum, to be able to have the funding to use it and to really deploy it. So I think looking at alternatives for funding are going to be necessary for us to do our due diligence. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding the hearing. And I am prepared to working with you to have the right bill that does what all of our goal is, and that is to enhance the public safety communications capabilities for these emergencies that we face. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hutchinson. This vast horde of senators that I promised you has actually shown up in the form of Senator Amy Klobuchar.